In the heart of Chicago's towering loop, Emily Johnson, a confident Black CEO, steps into the sleek headquarters of Horizon Solutions, expecting a game-changing partnership. But when a prejudiced receptionist mistakes her for a courier and has her humiliatingly escorted out, Emily's calm facade hides a storm brewing inside. As whispers of sabotage ripple through the company's executive floor, one question burns. Will Emily let this injustice slide? Or is she plotting a move that could bring Horizon to its knees? The stakes are sky high, and the truth is just the beginning. Stick around to see how this battle unfolds. Hit that subscribe button for more stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. In the heart of Chicago's towering loop, Emily Johnson, a confident Black CEO, steps into the sleek headquarters of Horizon Solutions, expecting a game-changing partnership. But when a prejudiced receptionist mistakes her for a courier and has her humiliatingly escorted out, Emily's calm facade hides a storm brewing inside. As whispers of sabotage ripple through the company's executive floor, one question burns. Will Emily let this injustice slide? Or is she plotting a move that could bring Horizon to its knees? The stakes are sky high, and the truth is just the beginning. Stick around to see how this battle unfolds. Hit that subscribe button for more stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Karen Davis, the receptionist, barely looked up from her screen. Her blonde ponytail bobbed as she typed, her voice clipped. "Delivery entrance is around back," she said, not meeting Emily's gaze. Emily paused, her lips curving into a calm smile. "I'm Emily Johnson, CEO of Johnson Innovations. I'm here for a meeting with Robert Hayes." Karen's eyes flicked up, narrowing as she took in Emily's dark skin, her casual attire. A smirk tugged at her lips. "Right," she said skeptically. "You got an appointment?" Emily nodded, her tone steady. 10 o'clock, confirmed yesterday." Karen's fingers hovered over her keyboard. Then she leaned back, crossing her arms. "I don't see it. You sure you're in the right place?" The lobby's hum seemed to quiet, heads turning as employees sensed tension. Emily's heart thudded, but her face remained composed. "I'm certain," she said evenly. "Could you check again, please?" Karen's smirk widened, her voice dripping with condescension. "Look, ma'am, this is a corporate office. Deliveries that way." The word ma'am landed like a slap, but Emily's resolve held firm. She'd faced this before, assumptions that her race, her presence, didn't belong in spaces like this. "I'm not here to deliver," she said, her voice low but firm. "I'm here to meet your CEO." Nearby, Lisa Carter, a 26-year-old Black analyst, froze at a coffee kiosk, clutching her latte. Her wide eyes locked on Emily, her stomach twisting. Lisa had been at Horizon for 2 years, navigating its unspoken hierarchies, swallowing slights to keep her job. She recognized Emily from a tech conference photo, a rising star in AI. She's the real deal, Lisa thought, her chest tightening. She wanted to step forward, to say something, but fear glued her feet. Fear of Karen's sharp tongue, of losing her precarious place at Horizon. Her fingers trembled as she watched Karen pick up the phone, her voice now loud enough for all to hear. "Security, we've got an issue at the front desk. Some woman's causing a scene." Tom Bennett, a lanky security guard with tired eyes, appeared moments later, his radio crackling. At 34, Tom was used to following orders, but this felt wrong. He glanced at Emily, noting her poised demeanor, then at Karen's smug nod. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with me," he said reluctantly, his voice soft with unease. Emily's gaze met his, steady and unyielding. "This is a mistake," she said calmly, "but I'll comply, for now." The words carried a quiet promise, a hint of steel beneath her composure. As Tom led her toward the exit, whispers rippled through the lobby, phones discreetly raised to capture the scene. Karen, emboldened, turned to her computer, her fingers flying over the keys. In Horizon's internal Slack channel, she typed furiously, "Disruptive intruder at reception. Security handled it. Stay vigilant." The message pinged across the company, a calculated move to cement her version of events, to paint Emily as a threat. Her lips curled in satisfaction, oblivious to the storm she just ignited. Lisa, still rooted by the kiosk, saw the Slack notification on her phone. Her breath caught, anger flaring alongside her guilt. This isn't right, she thought, her resolve flickering to life. She glanced at Emily's retreating figure, the CEO's head held high despite the humiliation. As Emily stepped into the Chicago sunlight, the city's pulse, honking cabs, chattering pedestrians, felt distant. Her mind raced, not with rage, but with clarity. She'd faced worse than Karen Davis, worse than this moment. A memory flashed, a college professor dismissing her code as lucky, a client assuming she was the assistant. Each time, she'd turned pain into power. This time would be no different. She pulled out her phone, her voice steady, as she dialed her COO, Michael Lee. "Michael, we've got a problem," she said, her tone resolute. "Horizon's not what we thought. We need to talk strategy." Back in the lobby, Lisa clutched her phone, Karen's Slack message glaring up at her. Her heart pounded, a choice looming: stay silent or act. The weight of Emily's dignity, her own silenced voice, pressed against her. Horizon's glass walls seemed to close in, but a spark of courage flickered. This wasn't just about Emily. It was about every time Lisa had bitten her tongue. As Emily's car pulled away, Lisa's fingers hovered over her phone, a decision forming that would ripple far beyond this moment. The executive floor of Horizon Solutions, perched high above Chicago's Loop, gleamed with polished wood and floor-to-ceiling windows framing Lake Michigan's shimmering expanse. James Miller, 45, leaned back in his leather chair, his sharp gray suit a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing in his mind. As vice president, he'd clawed his way up Horizon's ranks, but Emily Johnson's arrival threatened everything. Her $750 million AI partnership with Johnson Innovations was the talk of the tech world, and James's gut churned with resentment. A black woman, younger, outshining him? He'd watched her escorted out of the lobby hours ago, Karen Davis's smug triumph, a gift he hadn't expected. Now, he saw a chance to bury Emily's deal and her reputation for good. James's office was a shrine to his ego. Framed awards, a photo of him shaking hands with Chicago's mayor, a half-empty bourbon bottle tucked in a drawer. He opened his laptop, his fingers moving with calculated precision. A doctored financial report, meticulously crafted, sat in Horizon's secure system, painting Johnson Innovations as a house of cards, fake revenue figures, inflated contracts. He'd spent weeks perfecting it, driven by a mix of prejudice and fear that Emily's success would eclipse his legacy. "She's not taking my spot," he muttered bitterly, uploading the file to the executive shared drive. His plan was simple: present the report to CEO Robert Hayes, sound out, and kill the partnership before it began. Downstairs, in a cramped cubicle on the analyst floor, Lisa Carter hunched over her computer, her eyes bloodshot from a sleepless night. The 26-year-old black analyst still replayed Emily's humiliation, Karen's venomous Slack message, disruptive intruder, burning in her mind. Lisa's cubicle was a patchwork of personal touches: a photo of her mom, a Howard University mug, a sticky note with "Keep Going" scrawled in her handwriting. She'd joined Horizon hoping to climb. But the company's undercurrents, snide comments, overlooked promotions, wore her down. Now, accessing the shared drive for a routine task, she stumbled on James's report. Her brow furrowed as she scanned it. In the HR suite, Sarah Nguyen, 42, sipped green tea, her desk cluttered with employee files and a framed photo of her kids. The Vietnamese-American HR manager had a knack for spotting trouble, and James Miller was trouble. She'd overheard his dismissive remarks about Emily at a staff meeting. She's just a diversity hire with a lucky break. When her phone pinged with a meeting invite from James titled Urgent Partnership Review, her instincts flared. "What's he playing at?" she murmured suspiciously, accepting the invite. Sarah had fought her own battles at Horizon, her competence questioned until she proved herself. She wasn't about to let James's games slide. The boardroom, with its long oak table and Lake Michigan backdrop, buzzed with tension as James presented his report. Robert Hayes, 55, sat at the head, his silver hair catching the light. The CEO's face was unreadable, but his fingers tapped impatiently. "James, you're saying Johnson Innovations is cooking their books?" he asked skeptically. James nodded, his voice smooth. "Exactly, Robert. Look at these numbers. Overstated revenue, shaky contracts. We can't risk this deal." His confidence masked a flicker of unease. He hadn't counted on Lisa's access to the file. Across the table, Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Where'd this data come from?" she pressed sharply. James shrugged, deflecting. "Our due diligence team. It's solid." Back at her desk, Lisa's hands trembled as she cross-checked the report against public records. A mismatch in Johnson Innovations' quarterly filings confirmed her suspicions. The numbers were fabricated. Her mind raced. James was a VP, untouchable. But Emily's poised exit, her dignity under fire, haunted Lisa. "She didn't deserve that," she said softly, her resolve hardening. She saved a copy of the report, her fingers shaking with defiance. If James was lying, she'd prove it, but quietly, for now. Her phone buzzed with a text from David Patel, her colleague. "You okay? Saw you digging into something." Lisa hesitated, then typed back, "Need to talk. Not here." James, leaving the boardroom, felt a rush of triumph. Robert hadn't committed to canceling the deal, but doubt was planted. He smirked, imagining Emily's fall. Yet as he passed the analyst floor, he caught Lisa's glance, fleeting but piercing. His stomach twisted. "Does she know?" he thought, brushing it off. He'd deal with her later. For now, his report was in play, and Emily's partnership hung by a thread. He didn't see Sarah lingering by the elevator, her expression grim, already drafting an email to Robert. "We need to verify that report. Something's off." Across town, Emily Johnson sat alone in her hotel suite, the Chicago skyline a glittering reminder of the fight ahead. Her call with Michael had been brief but clear. Horizon was rotten, and she wouldn't play their game. But as she reviewed her own files, a nagging worry surfaced. Someone was moving against her, and fast. She didn't know James Miller's name yet, but she felt his shadow. The Langham Chicago's suite at 330 North Wabash Avenue offered a breathtaking view of the city's skyline, the Chicago River glinting under the afternoon sun. Emily Johnson, 38, stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, her silhouette steady against the urban sprawl. The black CEO of Johnson Innovations had shed her blazer, her white blouse crisp but her mind sharper. The humiliation at Horizon Solutions headquarters, Karen Davis's sneer, the security escort, still stung, but Emily's face betrayed no anger, only focus. She'd built her Atlanta-based AI empire through battles like this, each scar a lesson in resilience. Her phone rested on the glass table, speaker on, as Michael Lee's voice crackled through. You sure about pausing the deal?" her husband and COO asked cautiously, his Atlanta drawl warm but concerned. Emily's lips curved slightly. "I'm sure, Michael," she said firmly. "Horizon's culture is poison. We don't partner with snakes." Emily paced, her mind replaying a moment from a decade ago. A venture capitalist dismissing her startup pitch, his eyes skimming her dark skin, assuming she lacked the pedigree. She'd proved him wrong, turning Johnson Innovations into a tech titan. Now, Horizon's $750 million partnership was a prize, but not at the cost of her dignity. "We pivot," she told Michael decisively. "Find other players. Google, maybe IBM. Horizon's not the only game in town." Michael chuckled softly. "You're playing chess while they're stuck on checkers." Emily's eyes gleamed. Always. But a shadow crossed her thoughts. Someone at Horizon was pulling strings, and she needed to know who before her next move. Across town, in Horizon's fluorescent-lit analyst floor at 200 N LaSalle Street, Lisa Carter sat in her cubicle, her stomach knotted. The 26-year-old black analyst stared at her phone. Karen's Slack message, "Disruptive intruder," etched in her mind like a brand. Lisa's desk was cluttered. A worn notebook, a photo of her graduation, a fading dream of rising in tech. She'd saved James Miller's doctored report, its lies about Johnson Innovations glaring. But now, a new email from James sat in her inbox, his tone cold. "Lisa, I need a full financial audit by tomorrow noon. Priority." Her breath hitched. Tomorrow, she thought, panicked. It was impossible, a deliberate trap to keep her busy or silent. James's piercing glance from yesterday flashed in her mind, his suspicion palpable. David Patel, 28, leaned over the cubicle partition, his dark eyes kind but worried. The Indian-American analyst had become Lisa's confidant, their friendship forged over late-night projects and shared frustrations. "You look like you're carrying the world," he said gently, adjusting his glasses. Lisa hesitated, then whispered, "James is burying me with work. I think he knows I saw his report." David's brow furrowed. "That report's fishy. You gonna let him scare you?" Lisa's fingers grazed her phone, where she'd saved Karen's Slack message. "I want to do something," she admitted shakily. "But what if I lose my job?" David leaned closer, his voice low but firm. "You saw what they did to Emily Johnson. You stay quiet. That's on you." Lisa's heart pounded. Emily's poised exit, her unbowed head, had lit a spark in her. She'd spent years at Horizon swallowing slights, colleagues assuming she was the intern, her ideas credited to others. Karen's message wasn't just about Emily. It was a symptom of a culture that crushed people like Lisa, too. Her fingers hovered over her phone, then typed a quick message to Rachel Adams, a journalist she'd met at a networking event. "Rachel, got something you need to see. Horizon's hiding dirt." She hit send, her breath catching, then saved Karen's Slack message to a private folder, her hands trembling with resolve. Back at the Langham, Emily sat on the suite's plush sofa, her laptop open to Horizon's public filings. Michael's voice lingered in her mind, but a new email pinged, an anonymous tip, cryptic but urgent. "Check Horizon's execs, someone's playing dirty." Her pulse quickened. Who sent this, she wondered, her instincts screaming it was no coincidence. She typed a reply to Michael. "Dig into Horizon's leadership. Something's off." As she hit send, her mind drifted to a younger Emily, pitching her first app to a room of skeptical faces, her voice unwavering. Horizon's game was dirty, but she'd played dirtier and won. At Horizon, James Miller strode past Lisa's cubicle, his jaw tight. He'd meant to crush her with that deadline, to keep her too swamped to meddle. But as he glanced at her screen, her calm focus unnerved him. "Everything on track, Carter?" he asked, his tone clipped. Lisa met his gaze, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Just getting it done, sir." James nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. She's hiding something, he thought, his plan suddenly feeling fragile. He didn't know Lisa's message to Rachel was already in motion, a ticking bomb he couldn't stop. The Chicago skyline darkened as evening fell, the city's pulse a backdrop to two women charting their paths. Emily, in her suite, mapped out her counterstrike, her resolve a quiet fire. Lisa, in her cubicle, had crossed a line, her courage a fragile but growing flame. Their choices, separate yet intertwined, were about to collide. The Chicago dawn painted the sky in hues of orange, but outside Horizon Solutions, at 200 North LaSalle Street, a storm was brewing. By 7 a.m., a crowd of protesters, activists, tech workers, and passers-by clogged the sidewalk, their signs reading, "Justice for Emily Johnson," and "End corporate racism." The glass skyscraper loomed above, its sleek facade now a backdrop for outrage. The spark? A viral X-post by Rachel Adams, a 36-year-old Chicago journalist, featuring Karen Davis's Slack message calling Emily Johnson a disruptive intruder, and grainy security footage of Emily's humiliating escort from the lobby. Lisa Carter's leak, sent in a moment of courage, had ignited a firestorm, and the 26-year-old black analyst now stood at her cubicle, her phone buzzing with notifications, her heart pounding with equal parts fear and pride. Rachel's post, time-stamped 2 a.m., had exploded overnight, racking up millions of views. Mock X posts flooded the platform. Horizon Solutions, where CEOs get treated like couriers, #racism in tech, and Karen Davis, "You're canceled." Inside Horizon's fluorescent-lit conference room, Robert Hayes, the 55-year-old CEO, paced furiously, his silver hair disheveled. The room's oak table was littered with coffee cups and laptops, the air thick with tension. "How did this get out?" Robert barked, his voice hoarse. Sarah Wynn, the sharp-eyed HR manager, sat across from him, her expression grim. "It's internal, Robert," she said evenly. "Someone leaked it. And that footage? It's from security." Robert's eyes narrowed. "Find out who." Karen Davis, 29, sat at the reception desk, her blonde ponytail limp, her face pale. The lobby, usually bustling, felt eerily quiet, employees whispering as they passed. Karen's fingers trembled as she logged into Horizon's server, her plan desperate but clear. Delete the security footage before it buried her. She'd seen the X post, the hashtags branding her a racist, her name trending for all the wrong reasons. "I was just doing my job," she told herself, but the lie felt hollow. Her cursor hovered over the video file, Emily's poised exit, captured by Tom Bennett's body cam. She clicked delete, holding her breath. Access denied. The screen flashed. Karen's stomach dropped. "What?" she thought, panic rising. Tom Bennett, the 34-year-old security guard, leaned against a lobby pillar, his lanky frame tense. He'd backed up the footage days ago, guilt gnawing at him for escorting Emily out. When Rachel contacted him last night, he'd handed it over without hesitation. "It's the right thing," he'd told himself, his voice shaky. Now, watching Karen's frantic typing, he felt a grim satisfaction. "You can't erase this, Karen," he muttered under his breath, his radio crackling as protesters' chants grew louder outside. The crowd's energy, drums, megaphones, and raw anger spilled into the lobby, amplifying the crisis. In a cramped newsroom across town, Rachel Adams typed furiously, her desk a chaos of notes and energy drinks. The tenacious journalist had built her career exposing corporate wrongs, and Lisa's leak was gold. She'd met Lisa at a tech event months ago, bonding over shared frustration with Chicago's Old Boys Club. Now, her ex-post had thrust Horizon into the spotlight, and she wasn't done. "This isn't just one bad apple," she told her editor urgently, drafting a follow-up. "Horizon's culture enabled this. We're digging deeper." Her phone pinged with a tip. "Check the VP, James Miller. He's dirty too." Rachel's eyes gleamed. Another thread to pull. Back at Horizon, Robert summoned Karen to the conference room, his face a mask of fury. "You posted that message?" he roared, slamming a printout of the Slack on the table. Karen's voice cracked. I thought she was causing trouble," she stammered desperately, her eyes darting to Sarah, who stared back, unmoved. "You humiliated a CEO and tanked our reputation," Robert shouted, his hands shaking. "You're fired. Effective now. Get out." Karen's face crumpled, but her plea died in her throat as Sarah stood, her voice cold. "You made your choice, Karen. Live with it." As security, not Tom this time, escorted Karen out, employees gawked, phones discreetly recording her walk of shame. Lisa, still at her cubicle, saw the news break on X. Horizon Solutions fires receptionist after racist incident. Her breath caught, relief mixing with dread. She'd done it, exposed Karen. But James Miller's impossible deadline loomed, his shadow heavy. David Patel slid into her cubicle, his voice low. "You're a hero, Lisa," he said warmly, but her eyes were distant. "Not yet," she whispered nervously. "There's more to this." She didn't know Rachel's post had already shifted the tide. Or that Emily Johnson, across town, was watching the protests on her hotel TV, her mind racing with new possibilities. The Loop streets pulsed with the protesters' chants, Horizon's glass walls reflecting their signs. Karen's firing was a victory, but the crowd demanded more. Systemic change, not just a scapegoat. Inside, Robert slumped in his chair, the weight of his company's failure crushing him. He didn't see the bigger storm coming, one fueled by James Miller's lies and Lisa's courage. Chicago's financial district pulsed with its usual rhythm, traders shouting, screens flashing stock tickers. But inside Horizon Solutions' boardroom at 200 North LaSalle Street, the air was suffocating. The sleek skyscraper, once a symbol of tech dominance, now felt like a sinking ship. By mid-morning, Horizon's stock had plummeted 30%, a brutal fallout from the viral scandal over Karen Davis's racist treatment of Emily Johnson. Clients were jumping ship. 2 major contracts worth $400 million canceled overnight. Robert Hayes, the 55-year-old CEO, stood at the boardroom's oak table, his face ashen, his tie loosened. "We're bleeding out," he said hoarsely, glaring at the executives around him. "Someone tell me how we fix this." James Miller, 45, sat at the table's far end, his gray suit pristine but his jaw tight. The vice president's doctored report, meant to sabotage Emily's $750 million AI partnership, had been his ace until now. Sarah Gwen, the 42-year-old HR manager, leaned forward, her dark eyes sharp. "Robert, that financial report on Johnson Innovations, it's fake," she said firmly, sliding a folder across the table. "I cross-checked the data. The revenue figures don't match public filings. Someone fabricated it." The room went silent, all eyes on James. His pulse quickened, but he forced a chuckle. "That's ridiculous," he said dismissively, his voice strained. Due diligence team must have screwed up. Sarah's lips pressed into a thin line. She'd fought her way up Horizon's ranks, her Vietnamese-American heritage often weaponized against her in subtle slights. James's lies didn't surprise her, but they enraged her. "No, James," she said icily. "The metadata shows you uploaded it. Care to explain?" Robert's head snapped toward James, his voice low but lethal. "Is this true?" James's mind raced, his plan unraveling. "You're grasping, Sarah," he snapped defensively, standing to pace. "I'm trying to save this company while you play detective." But Brian Walsh, a 60-year-old board member with a gravelly voice, cut in. "Sit down, Miller," he ordered sternly. "We're auditing every file you touched." Downstairs, in the analyst floor's break room, employees huddled around a coffee machine, their whispers a mix of fear and gossip. "Karen's gone? Now James is next?" one murmured nervously. "This place is a dumpster fire," another replied, shaking her head. The toxic culture, cliques, favoritism, unspoken biases, had festered for years, and the scandal had ripped the lid off. Lisa Carter, the 26-year-old analyst who'd leaked Karen's Slack message, overheard from a corner, her stomach churning. Her courage had toppled Karen, but James's shadow still loomed, his impossible deadline a fresh wound. She slipped back to her cubicle, her resolve hardening. She'd started this, and she'd see it through. James, cornered in his office overlooking Lake Michigan, felt the walls closing in. His sabotage had failed, Sarah's audit was closing in, and the board's trust was gone. Desperation clawed at him. He opened his laptop, his fingers trembling as he accessed Horizon's confidential client database, proprietary AI algorithms, contract details. "If I can't win, neither will Emily," he fought bitterly. He encrypted the files and sent them to a rival firm, Nexus Tech, with a forged email header implicating Johnson Innovations. "Let's see how she handles this," he muttered viciously, hitting send. But Nexus Tech CEO, a stickler for ethics, flagged the leak as suspicious and contacted the authorities within hours, unraveling James's gambit. In the boardroom, Robert's phone buzzed with a news alert. Horizon Solutions faces client exodus amid scandal. His hands shook as he read, the weight of his inaction crushing him. He'd trusted James, ignored the red flags, and now his company teetered on ruin. "I want Miller in here, now," he growled to Sarah, who nodded, already dialing security. Brian Walsh, his weathered face grim, spoke up. "Robert, we need a full investigation. If James is dirty, we're all on the hook." Sarah's voice was steady but urgent. "I've got IT pulling his access logs. We'll know everything by tonight." Across town, at the Langham, Emily Johnson watched the chaos unfold on a financial news channel. Her expression calm, but her mind racing. The protests, Karen's firing, and now Horizon's stock crash. She saw opportunity in the wreckage. Her phone pinged with a message from Michael Lee, her COO. "Nexus Tech just tipped us off. Someone's leaking Horizon data, trying to pin it on us." Emily's eyes narrowed. James Miller, she thought, his name now clear from her team's digging. She typed back, "Stay on it. We're not playing defense." The Chicago skyline, framed by the boardroom's windows, glowed under a setting sun. But Horizon's future was dark. Employees whispered in hallways, their loyalty fraying. James, alone in his office, stared at his phone, a voicemail from an unknown number, likely the FBI, chilling his blood. His betrayal had backfired, and the noose was tightening. The FBI's Chicago field office at 2111 W. Roosevelt Road hummed with purpose, its concrete facade stark against the morning drizzle. Inside, Agent Laura Brooks, 45, stood before a digital board, her dark eyes scanning a web of evidence, encrypted emails, financial records, and a leaked Horizon Solutions database. The black agent, known for her relentless precision, had been tracking James Miller's data leak to Nexus Tech, a rival firm that reported it to authorities. "This isn't just a leak," Laura said sharply to her team, tapping a photo of James. "Miller's been siphoning funds for years. Offshore accounts, fake vendors. He's dirty, and we're bringing him down." Her voice carried a quiet fury, honed by years of dismantling corporate greed. At Horizon's headquarters, 200 N LaSalle Street, the air was thick with dread. The company teetered on bankruptcy, its stock now a penny stock after a 60% plunge. Employees shuffled through the glass lobby, their whispers a mix of fear and betrayal. In his corner office, Robert Hayes, 55, stared out at Lake Michigan, his silver hair unkempt, his desk cluttered with resignation letters. The CEO's empire was crumbling, clients gone, morale shattered, and now James Miller's sabotage exposed. "I trusted him," Robert muttered. James Miller, 45, sat in his office, his gray suit rumpled, his eyes bloodshot. The vice president's world was collapsing. His attempt to frame Emily Johnson with the data leak had backfired, and Sarah's audit had traced every keystroke to him. A memory flashed, a cryptic call 2 years ago, arranging a consulting fee to a shell company. He'd thought himself untouchable, his prejudice against Emily fueling his crimes. Now, his encrypted phone vibrated with a message. "Safe house ready. Leave now." Panic surged. He grabbed his laptop, stuffed it into a briefcase, and bolted for the elevator, his breath ragged. "I can still get out," he thought desperately, ignoring the receptionist's startled glance. Outside, FBI vans rolled silently into Horizon's parking lot, agents in dark jackets fanning out. Laura led the charge, her radio crackling with updates. "Miller's on the move," an agent reported, traced his burner phone to a server in Belize. Laura's jaw tightened. "He's not slipping away," she said firmly, signaling her team to breach the building. Inside, employees froze as agents stormed the lobby, badges flashing. "FBI, clear the area," an agent shouted. Lisa Carter, at her cubicle, watched wide-eyed, her heart racing. Her leak of Karen's Slack message had sparked this, and now James was cornered. David Patel, beside her, whispered, "You did this, Lisa," his voice awed, but proud. James reached the parking garage, his car keys slipping in sweaty hands. He'd planned to flee to a safe house in Wisconsin, his offshore accounts enough to vanish. But as he opened his SUV's door, Laura's voice cut through the dim light. "James Miller, you're under arrest for fraud, espionage, and data theft." He spun, his face pale, as agents surrounded him, cuffs glinting. "This is a mistake," he stammered frantically, but Laura's eyes were steel. "Your accounts in Belize say otherwise," she said coldly, nodding to an agent who read his rights. James's shoulders slumped, the fight draining from him as cameras flashed. Reporters had caught wind of the raid. In his office, Robert watched the scene unfold on a news livestream, his hands trembling. Horizon was finished. Bankruptcy filings were already in motion. He'd ignored the rot in his company, from Karen's prejudice to James's crimes, and now he paid the price. "I failed them," he whispered, his gaze falling on a framed photo of Horizon's ribbon cutting a decade ago. Sarah Newen knocked, her voice gentle but urgent. "Robert, the board's meeting. We need you." He nodded, his face hollow, knowing his legacy was ash. Across town, at the Langham, Emily Johnson sat with Michael Lee, her COO, watching the same live stream. James's arrest was a victory, but her focus was elsewhere. "Horizon's done," she said calmly, her mind already mapping a new path. "We buy their assets, Michael. Their tech, their patents. Cheap." Michael grinned. You're turning their mess into our win. Emily's eyes gleamed. Always. She didn't know Lisa Carter's role yet, but the young analyst's courage had shifted the board, and Emily sensed an ally she'd soon meet. The Chicago skyline loomed through the drizzle, Horizon's glass tower a monument to hubris. News trucks crowded the street, broadcasting James's perp walk. Laura Brooks, back at the field office, filed her report, her mind already on the next case. But for Horizon's employees, the raid was a funeral. Jobs lost, futures uncertain. James, in a holding cell, stared at the wall, his ambition reduced to a rap sheet. In a cramped Cicero apartment, the air was heavy with the scent of stale coffee and regret. Karen Davis, 29, sat on a sagging couch, her blonde hair pulled into a messy bun, her eyes hollow. The one-bedroom unit, cluttered with unopened mail and takeout containers, was a far cry from the polished lobby of Horizon Solutions, where she'd once held court as receptionist. Fired a week ago, after her racist Slack message about Emily Johnson went viral. Karen's world had imploded. Her phone, once buzzing with friends' texts, was silent. Her social circle had ghosted her, their silence louder than any rebuke. The Cicero Street outside hummed with evening traffic, but inside, Karen was alone, the weight of her actions crushing her. She flipped on the TV, a small flat screen perched on a rickety stand. A news broadcast filled the room, Emily Johnson's face beaming as a ticker read, "Johnson Innovations secures $500 million with IBM." Karen's stomach twisted. Emily's poised grace, the same she'd mocked as a disruptive intruder, now mocked her back. "She's winning," Karen whispered bitterly, her voice cracking. The memory of her smug tone at Horizon's front desk haunted her. How she'd called security, how she'd typed that message. "I didn't mean it," she told herself, but the lie felt thin. She'd meant to hurt, to assert power, and now she was paying the price. At a diner on 2800 South Archer Avenue, Karen worked the night shift, her apron stained with grease, her hands raw from scrubbing counters. The neon-lit joint, with its flickering open 24/7 sign, was a world away from Horizon's glass tower. Maria Lopez, a 30-year-old Latina coworker, moved past her, her eyes cold. Maria, a mother of two with a no-nonsense edge, had seen the ex-posts branding Karen a racist. "Table 5 needs coffee," Maria said curtly, avoiding Karen's gaze. "I'm trying, Maria," Karen mumbled pleadingly, but Maria walked away. The rejection stung. Karen had hoped for camaraderie, but her past followed her like a shadow. Earlier that day, Karen had sat in a sterile office for a job interview at a local retail chain, her resume thin without Horizon's gloss. The interviewer, a middle-aged woman, glanced at her phone mid-conversation, her expression shifting. "You're that Karen Davis?" she'd asked sharply, the viral scandal clearly fresh. Karen's cheeks burned. "It was a misunderstanding," she stammered weakly, but the interviewer stood. "We'll call you." The door shut before Karen could respond. Another door closed in a life increasingly defined by them. Back in her apartment, Karen opened her laptop, her fingers hesitating over the keys. Desperate to claw back some dignity, she drafted an anonymous apology on an X thread about the Horizon scandal. "I made a mistake," she typed shakily, cloaking her identity. "I'm sorry for the pain I caused. I've learned." She hit post, her heart racing with fragile hope. But the internet was merciless. Within hours, digital sleuths traced the account to her IP address, and Rachel Adams, the thread exploded with scorn. "No redemption for racists, and own it, Karen." Her screen lit up with notifications, each one a dagger. At the diner, Karen's shift dragged on, the clock ticking past midnight. A customer, recognizing her from the news, sneered, Thought you'd be in hiding." Karen's throat tightened, but she forced a smile, her voice trembling. "Just working, sir." Maria, wiping down a counter, overheard, but said nothing, her silence deafening. Karen's eyes stung with unshed tears. She'd wanted to be seen as more than her mistake, but the world had branded her, and the weight of that label was suffocating. Rachel Adams, in her Chicago newsroom, filed a follow-up on Karen's downfall, her tone measured but unflinching. "Davis's apology doesn't erase the harm," she wrote, her words destined to keep Karen's ruin in the spotlight. For Rachel, the story was about accountability, not vengeance. But for Karen, it was a life sentence. Back in Cicero, Karen slumped on her couch, the TV still droning about Emily's triumph. The contrast was brutal. Emily soaring, Karen sinking. She buried her face in her hands, regret a bitter pill she'd swallow alone. Transition. While Karen's world crumbled in Cicero's shadows, Emily Johnson was building a new empire in Atlanta, her sights set on Horizon's ashes. Lisa Carter, the analyst who'd sparked the scandal, was about to cross paths with Emily, their shared courage forging a bond that would reshape their futures. In Chicago, the diner's neon glow faded, but Karen's story was far from over, her isolation a stark warning of choices and consequences. The Atlanta Sun bathed Johnson Innovations headquarters at 675 Ponce de Leon Avenue Northeast in a golden glow, its modern glass facade reflecting the vibrant energy of the city's tech hub. Inside, Emily Johnson, 38, stood in her sleek corner office, the walls adorned with awards and a photo of her and Michael Lee at a 2015 tech conference. The black CEO's tailored navy suit was sharp, but her warm smile softened the room as she greeted Lisa Carter, 26, who stood nervously at the door. Lisa's journey from Horizon Solutions cubicles to this moment, her whistleblowing sparking a scandal that toppled Karen Davis and James Miller, felt surreal. "Miss Carter, welcome," Emily said warmly, gesturing to a leather chair. "I've been looking forward to this." Lisa, in a crisp blazer, clutched her portfolio, her heart racing. The Chicago scandal had thrust her into the spotlight, her leak of Karen's Slack message igniting protests and Horizon's downfall. Now, Emily's offer to lead a new AI division at Johnson Innovations was a lifeline. "Thank you, Ms. Johnson," Lisa said shyly, her voice trembling with excitement. I didn't expect this." Emily leaned forward, her eyes kind but piercing. "You took down a giant, Lisa. That kind of courage belongs here." Lisa's cheeks flushed, a mix of pride and disbelief. She'd spent years at Horizon swallowing slights, her ideas dismissed, her presence questioned, and now she was seen. The office's floor-to-ceiling windows framed Atlanta's skyline, a backdrop to their conversation. Emily poured 2 cups of coffee, her movements deliberate. "I know what it's like," she said softly, handing Lisa a mug. "Being the only black woman in a room, proving yourself twice over. Tell me your story." Lisa hesitated, then opened up, her words spilling out nervously. "At Horizon, I was invisible. People assumed I was the intern, even after 3 years. When I saw what they did to you, I couldn't stay quiet." Emily nodded, her expression somber. "I was you, Lisa, pitching my first app to rooms that didn't listen. We're not just here to succeed, we're here to change the game." Michael Lee, 40, the Asian-American COO and Emily's husband, knocked and entered, his grin infectious. "Lisa, you're already a legend around here," he said playfully, easing her nerves. He'd been mentoring her remotely, prepping her for the role. "Ready to lead a team?" Lisa's eyes widened. "A team? she asked anxiously. Michael chuckled. 10 engineers, AI ethics focus. You'll crush it. Emily added, we're also launching a scholarship program for Black and brown coders. I want you to help shape it. Lisa's breath caught. This wasn't just a job. It was a purpose. In a conference room down the hall, Lisa's first team meeting was a whirlwind. Aisha Brown, a 22-year-old Black intern with bright eyes and boundless ambition, sat at the table, scribbling notes. Aisha had joined Johnson Innovations after reading about Lisa's role in Horizon's collapse, inspired by her courage. Ms. Carter, your work at Horizon, it changed things, Aisha said eagerly after the meeting, her voice full of admiration. Lisa smiled, a flicker of confidence growing. Call me Lisa, she said gently. We're building something bigger here. Aisha's enthusiasm reminded Lisa of her younger self, fueling her resolve to mentor the next generation. Emily, back in her office, outlined her broader vision to Michael. Horizon's bankruptcy is our opening, she said decisively, pacing. We acquire their Chicago property, turn it into a diversity hub, training, innovation, community. Text 2 white, 2 male. We fix that. Michael nodded, his tone serious but proud. You're rewriting the rules, Em. Emily's gaze drifted to a framed quote on her desk. Resilience is our legacy. She'd faced bias, like Lisa. But each fight had sharpened her. Now, she was passing that strength forward. Lisa, leaving the meeting, felt a weight lift. The Atlanta air was warm, the city's energy a stark contrast to Chicago's corporate chill. She thought of David Patel, her Horizon ally, who'd texted his support, and Rachel Adams, the journalist who'd amplified her leak. Their encouragement had carried her here. As she stepped into the elevator, her phone buzzed with a news alert. Johnson Innovations to bid on Horizon assets. Lisa smiled. She was part of something transformative. The Ponce City Market nearby buzzed with life, a symbol of Atlanta's reinvention. Emily's office, high above, was a beacon of that same spirit. She and Lisa, bound by shared struggles, were planting seeds for change. Their partnership, a quiet revolution in a tech world long overdue for it. The Chicago South Loop buzzed with renewal, its streets alive with new cafes and art galleries, but at 1132 S. Wabash Avenue, but transformed landmarks stole the spotlight. The former Horizon Solutions building, once a cold monument to corporate greed, now glowed as Johnson Innovations' Chicago Innovation Hub. Its glass facade was adorned with vibrant murals, portraits of Black, Latino, and Asian coders, their faces bold against the skyline. Inside, the lobby sparkled with polished wood and interactive screens showcasing AI projects. Tonight, May 18, 2025, the Hub's launch event pulsed with energy, drawing tech CEOs, activists, and city officials. Emily Johnson, 38, stood at the center, her tailored emerald dress catching the light, her smile radiant. This was her vision realized, a beacon of diversity and innovation rising from Horizon's ashes. The Hub's atrium buzzed with chatter, string lights casting a warm glow over tables laden with hors d'oeuvres. Lisa Carter, 26, now head of Johnson Innovations' AI Ethics Division, adjusted her blazer, her nerves tingling with pride. She'd helped shape the Hub's flagship program, scholarships for Black and brown coders, offering full rides to tech boot camps. This place, it's a game changer, Lisa said softly to David Patel, 28, her former Horizon colleague who'd joined the Hub's outreach team. David, his eyes bright with optimism, nodded. You made this happen, Lisa, he said warmly, gesturing to the crowd. Your leak started it all. Lisa's smile faltered. She still felt the weight of Horizon's collapse, but David's encouragement grounded her. Emily took the stage, a sleek platform framed by a digital wall displaying code streams. The crowd hushed, Phones raised to capture the moment. "Chicago, welcome to the future," Emily began confidently, her voice carrying a quiet power. "This hub isn't just a building. It's a promise to uplift voices silenced too long, to build tech that serves everyone." Applause erupted, the room electric with hope. Emily's gaze found Lisa, and she added, "Tonight, I'm honored to introduce Lisa Carter, whose courage sparked this change." Lisa's heart raced as she stepped forward, her palms sweaty. I'm just a piece of this," she said humbly, her voice steadying. "This hub is for the dreamers, the ones told they don't belong. We're proving them wrong." The crowd roared, their cheers a validation of her journey. In a corner, Rachel Adams, the 36-year-old journalist who'd amplified the Horizon scandal, typed notes for her next story. Her coverage had fueled the hub's momentum, and she felt a quiet pride watching Emily and Lisa shine. "This is bigger than Horizon's fall," she murmured to a colleague, her tone earnest. "It's a blueprint for the industry." Nearby, Michael Lee, Emily's husband and COO, mingled with tech leaders, his charm easing their skepticism. "Emily's not just talk," he said firmly to a skeptical CEO. "Our AI ethics program, led by Lisa, is setting standards. Join us or get left behind." His words carried weight. Johnson Innovations was now a force, its $500 million IBM deal proof of its rise. The hub's features dazzled: a coding lab with free classes for local youth, a startup incubator for underrepresented founders, and a community space hosting diversity panels. Murals celebrated pioneers like Katherine Johnson and Ada Lovelace, their legacies woven into the hub's ethos. A young attendee, a black teen from Englewood, whispered to his mom, "I could work here someday." Emily, overhearing, knelt beside him. "You will," she said gently, handing him a scholarship flyer. "Start with us this summer." His eyes lit up, a spark of possibility kindled. David Patel, working the event's outreach booth, handed out brochures detailing the hub's mission. His time at Horizon had taught him the cost of toxic cultures, and now he was part of something healing. "We're training 500 coders this year," he told a curious investor, his voice passionate. "Half from underserved communities." Lisa, circulating, caught his eye and grinned. She'd found a home here, her Chicago roots now tied to a brighter future. The South Loop's revitalization mirrored the hub's promise, its gritty past giving way to innovation. Emily, stepping off stage, joined Lisa and Michael, her expression resolute. "This is step one," she said quietly, her tone fierce with ambition. "We're taking this model national: Detroit, Oakland, Atlanta." Lisa nodded, her confidence growing. "I'm in," she said firmly, her voice no longer hesitant. The crowd's energy, activists chanting, techies networking, kids dreaming, felt like a movement. Chicago's skyline, visible through the hub's windows, framed a city reborn, its tech scene forever changed. The federal courthouse in Chicago, a gray monolith at 219 S Dearborn Street, stood stark against the autumn sky of October 2025. Inside, James Miller, 45, sat in a sterile courtroom, his once pristine gray suit replaced by a rumpled orange jumpsuit. The former Horizon Solutions VP, convicted of fraud, espionage, and data theft, faced sentencing. His eyes, bloodshot and hollow, avoided the gallery, where Sarah Nguyen, 42, sat with folded arms. Her Vietnamese-American heritage, a quiet contrast to James's fallen privilege. Agent Laura Brooks, 45, the black FBI agent who'd led his arrest, stood by, her expression impassive. The judge's gavel fell like a hammer. 7 years, he declared sternly, his voice echoing. James's shoulders slumped, his ambition reduced to a rap sheet. Sarah whispered to herself, justice, her tone soft but resolute. Closure for her role in exposing his sabotage. Across town, in a Cicero diner, at 2800 South Archer Avenue, Karen Davis, 29, wiped down a sticky counter, the neon open 24/7 sign casting a sickly glow. Her blonde hair was limp, her apron stained, her life a shadow of the confident receptionist who'd humiliated Emily Johnson. The viral scandal, her racist Slack message, the failed apology, had left her ostracized. Maria Lopez, her Latina coworker, moved past without a glance, her silence a wall. A TV above the counter blared a news segment, Johnson Innovations Diversity Hum Reshapes Tech. Emily's face filled the screen, radiant. Karen's hand froze, her throat tightening. She's everywhere, she muttered bitterly, regret a constant ache. A customer sneered, recognizing her. Still here, Karen? He taunted. She forced a smile, her voice trembling. Just working, but the isolation was suffocating, her future a dead end. In Lake Forest, a sprawling mansion stood empty, its manicured lawn overgrown. Robert Hayes, 55, Horizon's former CEO, packed the last box in his study, his silver hair disheveled, his face etched with shame. The company's bankruptcy had forced him to sell his assets, his home, his yacht, his legacy. He'd ignored the rot, Karen's prejudice, James's crimes, and his inaction had cost him everything. His wife, unseen but ever present, had urged him to retire quietly. "It's over, Robert," she'd said gently, her voice a rare comfort. He stared at a faded photo of Horizon's 2015 ribbon cutting, James grinning at his side. "I trusted the wrong people," he murmured hoarsely, his voice breaking. With a final glance, he left, the doors click a full stop on his career. In Atlanta, at Johnson Innovations headquarters on 675 Ponce de Leon Avenue Northeast, the air was electric with possibility. Lisa Carter, 26, now a rising star, stood in a sunlit lab, mentoring Aisha Brown, 22, a black intern whose ambition mirrored Lisa's own. Aisha, debugging an AI ethics algorithm, looked up eagerly. "Lisa, this could flag bias in hiring software," she said excitedly, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Lisa smiled, her confidence a far cry from her timid Horizon days. "You're onto something, Aisha," she said encouragingly, adjusting a line of code. "Let's pitch it to Emily." Their bond, forged in shared dreams, was reshaping Johnson Innovations, its $500 million IBM deal now dwarfed by a new $1 billion contract with Google, cementing its industry dominance. Emily Johnson, 38, sat in her sleek office, the Atlanta skyline a vibrant backdrop. With Michael Lee, her husband and COO, she reviewed plans to expand the Chicago Innovation Hub to Detroit and Oakland. "We're not just building tech," she said firmly, her eyes alight with purpose. "We're building equity." Michael nodded, his tone proud. "You've changed the game, Em." Her journey, from Horizon's humiliation to industry titan, was a testament to resilience. The hub's influence was rippling. Tech giants like Microsoft and Amazon, inspired by its model, adopted inclusive hiring policies, citing Johnson Innovations in their 2025 diversity reports. Emily's framed quote, "Resilience is our legacy," felt truer than ever. Back in Chicago, at the Innovation Hub on 1132 Wabash Avenue, David Patel, 28, led a coding boot camp for local youth, his Indian-American roots grounding his passion. The hub's murals, celebrating diverse pioneers, inspired his students. "You belong here," he told a shy teen, his voice warm, echoing Emily's ethos. Rachel Adams, 36, The journalist who'd broken the Horizon story stood outside, filming a segment for her network. Johnson Innovations. Hub isn't just a building, she said confidently into the camera. It's a movement. In 2025, 30% of tech startups here are led by women and people of color, up from 10% last year. This is the future. Her report, viral on X, sparked national calls for similar hubs, amplifying the industry shift. In Marion, Illinois, James sat in a federal prison cell, the clang of bars a daily reminder of his fall. His schemes, doctored reports, leaked data, had unraveled, leaving him alone with his regrets. Karen, in Cicero, poured coffee for late-night truckers. Her dreams of redemption faded. Robert, now in a modest condo, avoided news of tech, his shame a private burden. But in Atlanta, Lisa and Aisha laughed over a coding challenge, their voices bright with hope. Emily, watching from her office, felt a quiet triumph. The scandal that began at 200 North LaSalle Street had birthed a revolution, its echoes reshaping boardrooms and classrooms alike. The Chicago skyline, framed by the hub's windows, glowed under a setting sun, a city reborn. Across America, the tech industry grappled with its past, inspired by a Black CEO who turned humiliation into legacy. As Rachel's segment closed, her voice rang clear. From Horizon's ashes, Johnson Innovations proves that change isn't just possible, it's inevitable. For Emily, Lisa, and Aisha, the story wasn't over. It was a beginning, a promise to keep building, keep dreaming, keep rising.